Reactivation, man. Come on, you know the thing. Shit makes my eyes bleed.
Reactor, reactivation.
Yeah. Let's go, Daddy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another reactivation video.
Hey, I was reactivating a little bit too much. My voice is a little bit shot. Why do working class jobs?
Reactivating too much.
Why do working class jobs?
He blew his
matter?
vocal cords out yelling at the TV screen on a video game.
I was reactivating to that damn video game. Both of those damn video games. Anyhow, why do working class jobs matter? By Jordan B. Peterson. This is we got a new audio setup, so this is I was probably
you are zooming way in on it.
All right. But
let's get into it.
Video, yeah. Let's see.
That's one of the things that's really characteristic of working class jobs, I think, much more so than more
jobs.
Intellectually complicated, abstract jobs. One of the things you have to be a good person to be around to do well at a working class job, because the jobs themselves are quite difficult. They're physically strenuous, they're demanding, and the payoff for that in part can be the camaraderie that emerges as a consequence of the shared enterprise, and that can make those jobs extremely worthwhile. You can make very, very good friends in a working class environment, and it's also very frequently the case that those working class environments are characterized by an extremely high level of sophisticated humor, is that they run on like derisive play, and it's one of the things I really liked about the restaurants. People always playing tricks on each other and making jokes, and and having a kind of dark fun, and everyone was participating in that. And it was certainly the case. I had a lot of working class jobs from the time I was 14 till the time I was about 25, I would say, and it was definitely the case that that ethos of
what happens when you chat 988? First, you visit 988 Life.
Harsh play. When I worked at this railway crew in northern Saskatchewan in the summer one year,
job.
And
railway
I was
crew.
what the hell they call it? A peanut pounder. I think that was my job. I had this thing that looked like a lead tin can on the end of a stick.
That's what she said.
I followed this machine that went down the tracks and laid down the plates that rails fit in, and there'd be a hole that was drilled into the plate, and then these things called peanuts held the plate in place so that someone come along and then spike the plate into place. And the guy in front of me would drop this little wooden dowel, which kind of looked like a peanut, hence the name, into the hole to hold the plate solid, and I would whack it with this lead can on the end of a stick, and that's what I did all day, was just this for like 16 hours out in the hot sun.
Sounds like a really weird threesome.
I did that for months, and it was an interesting place to begin
all day, just pounding,
I write about this a bit in Beyond
pounding
Order.
peanuts.
I believe it's in Beyond Order, because there was an initiation ceremony that went along with the with the job.
If it's an initiation.
So when I first showed up on the crew, no one was particularly friendly. It was all men, and they were rough guys. Like a lot of them were native guys.
Definitely not a threesome. Definitely not a threesome.
Indian guys from Saskatchewan. A lot of them had been in prison. They were rough guys, and they weren't that friendly if you were new, and they gave you a rough time. So everybody who came on board in the crew got a stupid nickname. Mine was Howdy Doody, which was this red-headed puppet.
They called him Howdy Doody.
Puppet with big ears
I
from
can
the
see it all day.
1950s. And I asked one guy why he called me Howdy Doody. He said, because you look nothing like him. Which
that's
I
great.
thought was extremely witty
body
answer,
frame.
a very funny answer. And anyways, it was a bit of a derogatory nickname, and part of it was delivered to see if you had enough of a sense of humor to accept it without getting all, narcissistically puffed up and irritable about it. And so it got shortened eventually to Howdy, which was a lot better because there was kind of a cowboy chic thing going on with that, and that was a lot better. And but there was this period where you got ribbed a lot, 2 weeks about, and if you didn't
Accept it.
collapse under the weight of the teasing.
I know I
then and you did your damn
some
job.
construction crews
and,
like
you're
that
reasonably
back
entertaining
in
to
the
be around,
day,
then
hanging drywall,
doors opened and you were now part
working
of the crew.
concrete
There was
crews.
one guy there.
Yeah.
I wrote about him. Lunch Bucket was his name. That was his nickname. Lunch Bucket. He showed up on the crew with a lunch bucket, and that was a bad idea because it's obvious that his mom had packed it. And you don't want to
look
you
out.
want to show up to a work crew of
With your
ex-cons
mom
with a lunch bucket
packing
that
your
your mom
lunch.
packed. It's a bad look.
I guess
And
that's
he was
better
called
than your
Lunch Bucket
boyfriend packing your
from day
lunch.
one. And he was a pretty touchy guy.
Well, maybe not.
And pretty narcissistic. And people didn't like him very much. And he was tested a lot. And the testing started out with people just throwing pebbles at him. So the crew would stretch out about a quarter of a mile across the line as we were working on the tracks. And Lunch Bucket would be doing whatever job he had. And the game was to see if you could bounce a pebble off Lunch Bucket's helmet. And so he'd be working and these pebbles would be flying out of God only knows where because people didn't make it obvious. And, it was a score for your mates if you bounced a pebble off Lunch Bucket's helmet. And he did not take to that well. And
go figure.
The pebbles got larger as the days progressed. And eventually he was driven off. And it was because he didn't subjugate himself properly to the multi-dimensional discipline of the crew, because he wasn't a good guy to have around. He couldn't take a ribbing. He didn't have a sense of humor. He wasn't able to contribute to the game that was being played socially.
That got people
these
through the
men
day.
were doing what was pretty
Mind you.
tedious and difficult
Yeah.
work. Like we were literally out in the hot sun for 16
Exactly.
hours at a stretch, and it was
Exactly.
rather mind-numbing
That's what you have
work
to keep in mind.
and somewhat physically demanding.
Mind-numbing.
And people just,
Physically.
instead of people just going, bully,
Yeah.
hey, bully, on the job site, hey, bully, why can't I just do my job and you pay me? Who wants to work around that? You know what I mean?
Physically demanding, but mentally, you're just kind of shut down. You're
And let's
on
be real.
autopilot,
Let's
you
be
know?
real. We're talking about a railroad crew,
Yeah.
a bunch of guys. It's
Yeah.
not there's not any young
And it was
whatever
whatever
girls
50
out there
years
or
ago.
women out there or older people. This
Yeah.
was a foul mouth sailor
Certainly.
type.
Guys who
Guy
were in prison.
Yeah.
Guys who were,
So and there's a lot of jobs there like you said, construction. There's a lot of stuff that
yeah. And I've worked plenty where, guys they weren't warm on the first few weeks until
several different jobs.
until you prove, that you can either one, do the job and do it really, really well, or, you get along and
But even that,
help
if you're a
everybody
dick, you
out.
got to go. Doesn't
Well,
matter if you do
yeah,
a good
that-
job, and that's what he's talking about. He's
Yes.
talking about if it doesn't matter if you're doing your job right or not. If you can't.
well,
get in
you
with
got to
with
be able
life.
to blend in.
Yeah.
You
It
do.
wasn't particularly difficult, but the spike pounding was, and you need some camaraderie in those positions
Absolutely.
so that your life is rendered maybe not just tolerable, but even enjoyable in principle. And so you're playing a multidimensional game, and if you're willing to subjugate yourself to that discipline, then you learn how to play that game, and if you get good at that, then that's a portable skill. So you might ask yourself, well, what are you doing when you work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing? Is that you're molding yourself into someone who can aim at something and move forward with efficiency and skill. And maybe if you're doing that extraordinarily well, you're not only molding yourself into someone who can aim at something and move towards it with efficiency and skill, but you can do that at the same time that you're helping other people around you do that.
Yeah.
Right? So you can think about this. Imagine you're a good athlete on a team, and you might say, well, what does it mean to be a good athlete? And you might say, well, I'm a soccer player, a football player, and I'm great at I'm a top scorer. And you might say, well, that's enough to make you a great athlete. And the truth is that's actually not enough to make you a great athlete, because you need to have the skill, whatever the skill might be. And high-level skill is, of course, extremely desirable in relationship to the goal. But you also have to be a good, let's say, a good sport. And that's a rather trivial description for something that's actually quite a profound
huge,
moral accomplishment. So if you're
Yeah.
not only a highly skilled athlete in the technical sense, but
Because
you're
if
a
you're
good
a
sport,
dick,
it means
everybody
that
knows
while
you for being a dick
practice
also,
your
as much
skill,
as they know you for
whatever
being
that
the
is,
good guy.
you also elevate the ability of all
I've
your
noticed
teammates to
an uptick in poor sportsmanship now that you've mentioned that, but I've noticed that in the public arena of sports, basketball,
anger.
all that there's an uptick in poor sportsmanship.
Yeah.
to make their skill manifest and also to improve their skill, and you do that simultaneously, right? And that's
Gain of
a
respect.
high level athletic ethos. Is you're a good athlete and you're a good team player, and the union of those two things might make you something approximating a good person, and that's transportable. I think part of the reason that we admire sports heroes, when they're sports heroes in the truest sense, is because if they are ritual models of emulation in relationship to the development of high level.
But having said that, and I don't know if he'll bring this up or not, but that's what we see the high athleticism, the high level, which makes them favorable in the end goal, like you said.
Yes.
And then you see the good sport makes him a great person, what we see.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you find out he got hit for DUI and killed a woman and her child and is a drunk or got caught with dope.
Or you found out he's been juicing the whole time.
Or he cheated on his wife and beat her in an elevator. Or you find some crazy shit out about your big hero, and then all of a sudden you see more added to the picture.
Juice, they should all juice. That way we'd have more exciting sports.
He's not such a good guy after that.
Oh, yeah.
And they're also admirable team players in the highest sense, then they actually are like something approximating admirable citizens in the truest sense. And that pattern of skilled, productive, generous cooperation is actually
he's
a
talking
model
about
that you can extract out
getting
of multiple
good
games.
jobs. So I don't know if he's going to hit on the
and that's
turning
something that
shit
isn't
as a good
arbitrary, by the
person.
way. And so that's,
we'll see.
that also answers a question that I posed earlier in relationship to nihilism and belief. It's like, well, what should be foundational? And the answer might be something like practice in developing the capacity for skilled movement forward in a manner that simultaneously encourages the others that you're cooperating with to do precisely the same thing. And that's not some arbitrary ethos.
I get it.
It's not arbitrary, because if that doesn't happen,
He's still
then
talking
nothing
about
flourishes.
in the job arena,
and
not
if
life.
it does happen, then everything flourishes.
Life.
And
But
it's
it
not,
all feeds
it's
together.
also not relativistic in some sense, because you have to do that no matter what you're doing. No matter what it is that you're doing, if you do that well, you're doing whatever it is you're doing well. In fact, that's really in some sense how you would define well. And you know that's true. You know, you'll be at home.
Everything affects everything.
Maybe you get a plumber to come over, or an electrician, somebody who's skilled in the working class technical sense, and they do a good job, and that's a great relief, especially, let's say, if it's a plumbing problem, because you really need your plumbing fixed. It's not optional. Well, you know what the options are. They're not great. And so it's really important to be a good plumber. And then you think, well, what makes a good plumber? And one is obviously technical skill. The man or the woman, generally the man when it's plumbing, knows what he's doing, and he does it efficiently. But that isn't all. If he's a really good plumber, well, he tells you what he's going to do, so he can communicate
good
what he's going to do.
communication skills.
He can tell you, he can
certainly.
identify the problem. So he's a good diagnostician. He can tell you what he's going to do. He can tell you how much
it's going to cost.
what he's going to do will cost you.
And how long
Then
it'll
he
take
does
him.
it. Then that's what it costs, right? So there's an honesty
And how long it
in
should
interpersonal
take.
transaction that goes along with the diagnostic
barring any
accuracy and the skill,
issues.
and that's reflective of a very deep ethical orientation. And so to be a really good plumber, then you have to be highly skilled, but you have to be a clear and honest communicator, and you have to play fair in the most fundamental sense. And if you, and then you might say imagine he has some employees with him, and you might also, maybe you're deciding if you want to have the plumber come back if you have problems in the future, and so one of the things you're going to do is check out how he interacts with his subordinates, and if he's someone who's
that's true also.
teaching them, because you can watch that, and doing that in a fair manner, and not talking down to them, and not manipulating them, and not tyrannizing over them, and is also able to do that in a manner that's sort of civilized, so that you don't feel like it's an imposition to have them in your house because there's no psychological tension, surrounding the enterprise, then you think, well, he's a good boss and he's done a really credible job and he's very honest and reliable and he solved the problem and he did it on time and he didn't charge you any more than he had told you he would charge you and it was a fair price. Like, that's pretty multidimensional space to manage simultaneously, right? That's a very sophisticated mode of ethical conduct. It can't be just reduced to being a good plumber in the technical sense.
But it takes the entire trilogy of all those things, though.
It's being a good person who happens to be a plumber, and that is success in a microcosm that is truly reflective of society at a much broader level. And it's definitely the case. I think this is absolutely clear that the integrity of our society depends in no small part on the minority of people, and often working class people, who do that sort of thing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Right? They're the people who they build
society
everything
running.
and they keep everything going.
Yep, certainly.
That was a good video there from old Jordan.
Well, hey guys, make sure you smack those likes and subscribe.
Is that
Yeah,
smack and smash?
smack and smash. Hit those likes and subscribes, and make sure
Wow.
go down in the comments section. Tell us what you want us to react to. Tell us what you want us to watch. If there's any videos you want us to see,
We're all the way up to 4 subscribers. 5 subscribers now.
And start passing it around. Tell other people about us. And
one of you poor bastards wants to see us react to something, surely. So,
Shirley, if you're out there watching us, tell us what you want us to see.
get over there. Why do working class jobs matter? If you want to see this video, it's over at Jordan B. Peterson's site.
Jordan Peterson.
Until next time, peace.
And as always, hug someone, but only with their permission.
You're going to keep doing that even with the new audio system?
Oh, yeah.
Because I can really hear you say it now.
It's a real good show.